Welcome back to Shit Creek Survivors. We believe one thing. We all have a Shit Creek moment. But before we get started, if you really enjoy stories about getting through life's toughest seasons, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to contribute, put your Shit Creek moment in the comments below. This week, we're hearing Jacqueline Pendleton's story. Jackie is a health and fitness coach with more than 38 years of experience, specializing in individuals in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, rebuilding strength, stability, and mobility from the inside out. She's the creator of the full Body Renovation Method, focusing on the often overlooked inner core and the connection between stress, movement, posture, and overall well-being. But Jackie's work isn't just based on nearly 4 decades of coaching. She's also navigated her own injuries, stress, and burnout, giving her a firsthand understanding of what it feels like when your body and your life don't work the way they used to. Today, we're talking about stress, resilience, personal responsibility, and getting through the challenges that come with life in your 40s and beyond. Let's get into it. Jacqueline, thank you so much for being on Shit Creek Survivors. It is an honor and a privilege. If you would introduce yourself to our listeners and let us know a little bit about you.
So, my name is Jacqueline, or Jackie. My friends call me Jackie. And I'm 63. I've actually been living overseas since I was 17 and a half, because I used to be a professional dancer. And then I went into the fitness industry. So I've been in the health and fitness industry over 38 years. And then, a personal trainer for 18 years, but I call myself a midlife movement coach because generally people want to run in the opposite direction 5 kilometers when they find out that you're a personal trainer. Okay.
Right.
So so that's what I do. And that's what I'm passionate about, helping people. So I work with women 40 and 50 and beyond with stress issues. So, yeah, so I work with stress issues. I'd actually left a 31-year marriage, which was quite difficult. And so because my body didn't have a sense of humor, I ended up gaining 15 kilos at a racing heart rate from stress. But I was actually quite burnt out.
Wow.
Yeah, so I pretty much built my program to help people from that because I went through all of the things myself.
It's pretty amazing how we can use those things that happen to us to help other people, which is so interesting about meeting people like you, coming on the show, how we can help other people through our experiences. So who typically is coming to you? Like, how does that process typically work, or how do you get to speak to these individuals?
I mean, I'm guesting on a lot of shows as well as doing summits and things like that.
Yep.
I still work with people. I'm actually based in New Zealand. I don't know whether I mentioned that. I'm actually based in New Zealand. So I've lived here for 36 years. And so I work with women 40 and 50 and beyond, and how they come to me is basically they book a call and then I just chat with them to see what it is that's going on. I've worked a lot with women who have got stress issues. So some where their child has killed themselves, like their adult child has hung themselves, or they've had other things happen, or they've had domestic violence issues. And then by the time they've got to their 40s and 50s and gone through perimenopause, menopause, they've got all of these symptoms of stress that they haven't realized is related to all of that stuff. And so I help them unpick all of those things based on what I've gone through myself. Obviously, I haven't had my kids kill themselves, but I have had some of my children have had issues, let's put it that way, which have created a lot of stress.
Yeah. I know I put my parents through it too.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it funny?
I don't know why.
It's not funny. It's not funny, but it's sort of like, as I say to my kids, when you get kids, you'll really appreciate what I've actually done for you because they've got no children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't have kids, but I've got a niece and nephew that I get to be the cool uncle, and, my wife's the cool aunt. We go up there, give them sugar and toys for a couple days, and then run back to Atlanta. So
and then you can actually give them back, though. That's the thing. It's a bit like grandkids. Whereas when they're yours, you've got nowhere to go.
There's no end. That is super funny. And so you're saying that stress is a huge influence during this period of time. And you're saying stress actually has an effect on our physical body during that process. And you were saying you kind of explain that to the people who come to you for help, and you kind of pick it apart. Could you give us like an example of that, or like how would that work?
Well, most people, when they start to go through, I ask them questions. I'll say, do you have a stressful job? Have you had any stressful incidences? Because I've worked a lot with people with fibromyalgia, polymyalgia, lupus, Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, and a little bit with Parkinson's. And if you look at that, they had some form of event that happened, which happened within your body, which therefore triggered something, because your body is designed to adapt. And so a lot of people put it down. So I don't work with menopause. I work with menopause by a default. Okay. So when people hit perimenopause, menopause, the body goes, right, I'm going to show you now. I've been trying to tell you all of this time that something is going on, knocking on your body and saying, I'm telling you something and you're not listening. And then they start to gain weight, or they start to lose weight, and they start feeling fatigued. I mean, I couldn't even get out of bed.
Really?
And I mean, I had an in-person business. I was training up to 10 people a day. And I would get up and I'd go, hello, how are you today? Because I was in show business, right? I could put the show face on. I might have had a fight backstage, and then I could, go on stage, right? And then I'd come into the house and I'd be like, ugh. And the kids would say, oh, you're so miserable all the time. And I'm like, they didn't realize that I was just having to constantly perform. For my clients, because they were there to help me. So when I speak to these people, I ask them several different questions, and then we start to build a relationship and understand. And really, I don't help them unless I understand that I actually can help them. Even if it's just really empowerment to understand, because I felt quite isolated. I thought, oh, it must be me. There must be something wrong. Right. Even though I'm quite a positive person and I've had a lot of challenges that have helped me stay strong, I just keep getting up and dusting myself off. But it's just, they feel quite isolated, or they think it's them. And it's really empowering them. A bit like when you talk about PTSD, etc. It's just understanding it and realizing it and seeing themselves in your story. So I do talk about my own story, and they're like, that just makes perfect sense, because they've gone to the doctor, which is what I did. Went to the doctor and they said, oh no, there's nothing wrong. It's just one of those things. You've got a middle age spread. And went to an endocrinologist, and he said, you need to get psychological help. And I'm like, you will put weight on. Your scales. By osmosis, I'm telling the scales to gain weight, making it hard to get out of bed. It was just bullshit. So basically, I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to tell women that it's not just menopause. You've got to look at everything else that is going on. Based on from when you were born, like epigenetics, if you like, from when you were born to where you got now. It's not like you just wake up one morning and go, oh, I can't believe I was in this position, and I went to bed and I was 15 pounds heavier when I got home. It was a process. It was a process, and you can't click your fingers. A bit like the film Death Becomes You. You can, I don't know whether you remember that film with Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep. Inject yourself and stay alive forever. There is no magic pill. It's about realizing it and then becoming and understanding what is going on with you and being empowered to do something about it.
Yeah. It's very interesting that in life we seem to be able to see someone else going through something and understand it more, but we can't understand ourselves or give us the grace or the kindness that we might give somebody else. It's kind of like, for me, it was always like, why am I such a screw up? Why am I screwing this up? And it was just like hammering down a nail in a coffin that I'm not worthy or whatever it is. It's just strange things that we do to ourselves, that trauma makes us kind of like isolate. It makes us feel we are the problem, it makes us feel that we're lacking and that, life would be better off for everyone if we weren't there. That's where my head was when I was at my worst, And when someone else could come up to me and be like, you're doing great. What are you talking about? You're doing amazing. You've done 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, it's not enough. And they're like, what do you mean? So it's like you're in my head holding myself to a different standard than I would hold someone I love. Does that make sense to you? Like we're harder on ourselves?
your own best critic, and you really can't see the forest for the trees. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happens. And I think that what I do with these women, especially is the fact that they don't tend to put themselves last,
Yeah.
I mean, probably men do it as well, but I'm just talking about women, generally.
Yeah.
They're sort of running back and forth, you see that picture where they're vacuuming, like the octopus, and they're doing this and they're doing that, and they're changing their nappy, and they're working, because I was working as well as running my own business, and it was difficult. So but I do think that and that's where that empowerment comes, that it's not in your mind. There is something going on. Like you were saying, when you were listening to other people, it really felt like you could see yourself in their story. And so that's when you start to feel empowered, like, yes, there is a solution. And I think when you start to feel like there is a solution, or you can feel empowered, then therefore you're able to come out of that. Yeah. Right? I do think that generally we are, it's a bit like, I work a lot with women. And I say, oh, wow, you're looking like you're really good, and, and you can see the result and stuff. And but they're the ones sitting inside their body looking in the mirror all the time. Right.
Yeah. And so and how you feel affects your reflection. It's really funny. I mean, I've had it happen to me. If I feel like I'm a bag of trash, I look in the mirror and I see a bag of trash. While if I'm feeling good that day and I catch a glance of myself where I'm not looking for that person, like I see who I actually am, I'm like, oh, there you are. It's funny how much power we have between our ears that can influence what we're actually viewing.
Well, that's right. It's the best real estate in between your ears. It's that positive reinforcement. And look, I've gone through a lot of challenges. I mean, I'm the do-over queen. I mean, I basically gave up everything, met my ex-husband now, and moved here to New Zealand, gave up everything. I'm supposed to go to America, actually. And actually went to New Zealand 4 kids later, separated. Then I actually sold everything at the beginning of 2024, moved to the UK, and wanted to live in Italy half the time, and the UK in the time didn't work out. And I had to come back here. So I've come back to New Zealand after start over again. So I'm sort of the do-over queen, but I just, I could sit there and cry my eyes out. I could just say, look, I've just got to keep moving one foot in front of the other. Right. Yeah. I mean, I try and get inspiration from different people who are struggling. And I think, well, I've got a roof over my head. I've got 4 beautiful children. It's about really thinking about what you have, not what you haven't. So I think that's what I think about. And when I work with women, it's really about helping them realize that this is a journey, and it's about, it might take you time. It's not going to happen like that. It's just about, I can't go, and you will go to the ball or wave my magic wand. It's about you understanding through education what has gone on with you, and then starting to process that. And that might be going to get some form of counselling, okay? Because that might not be in my range. I can help them with other things, but it's just helping them and moving forward so that then they can get up and enjoy their life. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. It's almost like you're clearing their vision. You're teaching them how to see the good again. I think you mentioned the glass half full, glass half empty mentality. It's either one way or the other.
I think that makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. That I totally agree with that. That is interesting how we can do that to ourselves and how we are our worst critic. And I don't know. And what's interesting about, like, I don't know if anyone out there can relate, is if you grew up in like a traumatic situation, or let's give an example of a parent who always tells you you're not going to be anything. You spend some of your life wondering if that's true. And if things start not going well, sometimes that old memory can slide back in, and it's almost like you're seeing what you're going through as confirmation that they were right. I just want to say to anyone out there, that's BS. You're the one creating that storm, because that's what I was doing to myself. No one was ever talking to me, telling me I was less than as I was trying to get up. I was recycling voices from the past that kept me stuck where I was at. Because when you're first getting back up, say I had to lose like 100, I gained 100 pounds, you know what I mean, in less than a year. And that was from drinking and just eating bad food and all that kind of stuff. But then when you get to the point where you're like, okay, I need to make a change, you see how big the hill is that you have to climb. and you're like, I don't know if I can do it. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. They're like in between starting and not. They're waiting for the right time when they've got all the energy and the right momentum and all this kind of stuff, when really you just have to start. And that's where it starts on that, just the one first step followed by a second step, and just kind of one day at a time, giving yourself a lot of grace along the way. And when you hear other people's stories, it makes things more hopeful, because you know that this person has had this feeling where they had to decide, I'm going to make a change. And you're the queen of that, like you said, that you can actually get to that.
Do-over queen. I'm the do-over queen. I've got an American friend, actually. She's my best friend, and she's like, she said, I would be laid in a ditch by now. The amount of stuff that I've gone through over the last 5 years, having to start a house because I didn't really take anything with me. And then I said, sell up, and it's not worked out. And I sold everything, and I'm up to start over again. And my kids are like, why don't you give up? And I'm like, I'm not going to. I'm trying to show them that I'm actually not going to give up. But I think the thing is, when people are starting, and I say this as well a lot, I say, you can't eat an elephant all at once because you're going to get indigestion. It's actually about eating it bit by bit, right? Yep. So you said, not that we're going to go and eat elephants if anyone's vegetarian, but it's really about understanding that and doing one or two things, so if it means getting outside, just walk from your front door, because I know in the US it's a bit like New Zealand. The letterboxes are not like the UK where they're on your door. Right. In New Zealand they're like America. They're quite far away. So, walk from the front door to your letterbox, because sometimes just walking around, wind in your hair, obviously not if it's blowing a gale, makes you feel less stressed, and you start to feel like, well, actually, it's not as bad as I thought. But I do think power of association. I mean, I've always avoided people that are really negative. Like if people have started to put me down, I've just basically lost them as friends, because it just affects me as a person. Yeah. I know it sounds awful, but I just think that it just makes you worse. And that's why if you've already been brought up with quite a negative background, which I feel I have, although my mother was always really, really positive, really encouraging. I think that you've just got to change that narrative. You've got to change that narrative so that then you just, because it's almost like people want to undo what they've done because it makes them feel better, because they get back into that old narrative. So I think it's about changing that, the power of association, and understanding that you just do one thing, like you said, and then the second thing, so that then we don't get indigestion eating the elephant, right?
Yeah. One bite at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly. Makes it laughter, isn't it?
Yeah. I love it because it's so comical, but it makes perfect sense, because we're tempted all the time to take on our problem all at once. Exactly. When we could just be shaving little bits off of it, which seems a lot more manageable and a lot more attainable compared to like the whole problem smacking you in the face all at once, And that's where the fear, I think, comes from. I had a lot of fear, and with my fear, I would generate people's opinions about me for them. Right. So you didn't say anything, but because I feel bad about myself and I'm not living up to who I'm supposed to be, I think you're thinking that too. And then I think you're a bad person for thinking that, and you haven't said a word. That's trauma. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's like recycling this idea that, this isn't going to happen, or however you're going to look at it. It's pretty amazing what happens to us. But it's funny that we reach a stage in our life where suddenly we're like, well, I guess I'm going to have to push on and then in another direction. And that's hard to do. I hated losing my job with law enforcement. I identified with that, which makes it pretty tough when you lose a job if you identify with it, because then like you think, who am I? The truth is, I should have never identified that myself with that job. I am Cameron, you know what I mean? Like, and I may do this job, but I am not that job. I am Cameron. So I had to learn that again. Like, I had to learn that I am not a police officer. I am a person who served as a police officer. And that, and a lot of times, like you said, you mentioned something where we put ourselves last.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I think men's identity is tied up with their roles, what they do. Whereas women, genetically, I think, we're sort of designed to, with the children, even if you don't end up with children, do you know what I mean? Like, whereas with men, all of their identity, because that's what they're like, is tied up with what they do, with their role. Like you were saying, you were a police officer, so it's hard to then get what your identity. And you see it even when men retire, they've got what am I going to do now? You know what I mean? So I understand what you're saying, and I do think that even men, it's just because I only work with women generally, but men do also, we all put ourselves last. We always, if you're a giving person and you've had a lot of trauma yourself, you tend to give to other people rather than thinking about yourself, because you can't help other people if you don't help yourself first, right?
Yeah. Yep. The old put your mask on so you can put on the other person's mask.
I was going to say
that a lot on here.
On the flight.
I use that a lot. I've almost beat
Why
it
not?
to death,
I don't want to die first.
And obviously, I think your sense of humor may have helped you through this process. Is that maybe true?
Oh yeah, I mean, I am a bit of a. Sorry, I don't know. I probably could have been a stand-up comedian, probably.
Well, it's important. You know what I mean? Like if we can laugh at the bad things, it's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's when you start to realize God might actually have a sense of humor, because, these silly things keep happening. You're like, really? Again? And you're like, I'll quit resisting whatever message or lesson you're trying to push my way. Geez. And then, you get through it. What would you say to a person who might be stuck in their own shit creek right now, who feels hopeless, who's thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this again, or I can't do this. I talked to someone recently who got right to the end of where their children were like going to college. And right when that happened, she had a vision of them going off into the sunset, into retirement and traveling. And he suddenly said, I'm done. And it shocked her, and it took basically like her legs out, because she thought her whole life was like this, what she saw ahead of her. And it took a minute to kind of get herself moving in another direction. And we kind of talked about it earlier, but the idea that it's really hard in those situations because you didn't create the problem. You don't actually think like you actually did it. And so you kind of like, I thought it was someone else's responsibility to come and save me after I got shot. Like, I didn't create this. You should be helping me. What's going on? But the truth is, the responsibility for the person to get up lands solely on that person. It kind of goes back to the idea of like, you can lead a horse to water. Like, I don't know how many people. Yeah. So many people led me to water, but I wasn't going to drink until I said, Cameron, I'm ready to drink, so it's an odd thing we do to ourselves that, we'll resist things because I don't know. I'll resist something because I don't like being told what to do, although it's the thing that's going to make me feel better. Weird.
But that's human nature. And I mean, look, women that have come and worked for me have said to me, God, I've actually got to take responsibility. And I've gone, you do have to take responsibility. And look, I left my marriage, and it was quite hard, because
I bet
I'd given up a lot, and for me it was for life. It's really, really serious. For me, and so it was quite hard. But then I just thought, well, I've done it now. There's no point in shoulda, coulda, woulda. Okay. I can't change what's happened. I've just got to put one foot in front of the other, get out of bed and move forward. And it might be just start journaling how I feel, just get started, but I do think if somebody's really overwhelmed and something has happened, it is quite hard. And I think that's where you need that emotional support, whether it be, talking to somebody or friends and family. I've been really lucky. I've had really good friends and family around me, and I've had quite a good network because I'm a bit of a networking ninja. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I've got because I've lived overseas for years, since I was 17 and a half. So I've had to sort of build friendships with people. And so therefore I think, if you look at how things affect your health and stuff, epigenetics, social is one of those things. And so if you feel isolated and you feel that you've had a lot of trauma, it's hard to get out of that. So I think that's where, you first of all need to take responsibility and then seek to be able to get assistance. I mean, like yourself, you started to seek assistance, you started to listen to other people, which therefore helped you. Am I right there?
Yeah. Eventually, I was like, once I realized that I need to start taking action on my own, that it wasn't going to be done for me.
Yeah.
That's when I started taking it more serious. When I realized that nothing was going to change until I changed it. And that's taking responsibility, like you were talking about, it can be like this, it is my responsibility to get back up, or taking responsibility for a situation that happened where, for 10 years, you can think you were right about an argument that you had with another person. But if you actually go back to it with the kind of the lens of what did I contribute to this, it actually can free you up a little bit, because then you take account for those things and you're like, okay, well, I can change those, I can move forward. And then you do, it's actually quite funny how that works. Yeah.
But I think the thing is, it's a process. And I mean, the people that I've worked with, including myself, it's a process. It happened. Sure. It's not going to happen on day one. Don't beat yourself up. It's a bit like when I'm getting people to change and they're like, oh, it's like, don't worry about it. Just get back on the horse.
Yeah.
Okay, this is your life. It was a journey to get where you were and where you've ended up. And it's going to be a journey to get where you are. Enjoy the journey and understand that, it's going to be a bit like that. And then it's going to go up, and then it's going to be a bit like that, like a roller coaster. And then, and a lot of times they've said it felt like a roller coaster. And I said, and this is the thing, this is what it's going to be like. It's just about picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and just keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other, one day at a time.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Now, you are going to, or I'm going to put all your information in the bio. So anyone listening is able to reach out to you, contact you for your services, or just get some help with some stuff. Is there anywhere else that you just want to mention now that anyone could reach out to you quickly?
Well, I mean, a lot of times I'll just say if they want to book a call or have a chat, or reach out to me. Because of the fact that sometimes it's just about talking to that person. Okay, because quite often, if I feel that I can help somebody, I will. If I don't feel that I can help them, I'll just say, I think you need to go and do this. Yeah. Okay, because for me, I love what I do. I would do it for free if I could, because I just love it. I absolutely love helping people. I'm really passionate about it. And I think that I really tend to sort of meet them where they're at. Meet them where they're at, and then point them in the right direction if I can't help them. Right? Because it's not about me. It's actually about them as a person and what they need.
I like that. We talk about the idea of, like, if you're stuck in shit creek, sometimes the best person is the one who will get down in the creek with you and sit down next to you. They may not even be able to fix the problem, but the fact that you have company, someone sitting next to you saying, okay, I see where you're at. I see where the problems are. I can't help you, but I know someone who can.
Exactly, and that's the way to do it, Yeah,
absolutely.
And I mean, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it, rather than go, oh, no, you need to come and work with me because I need this. No, because it's not about you. It's actually about them. It's about that person and understanding where they're at, and actually sitting and holding their hand and sitting next to them. It's a bit like, if somebody was in a war, and they've got injured and the soldiers next to them, and they're saying, it's okay, we're going to get through this, right? They need that person to move them to the next step. Do you see what I mean? So that's how I approach things.
Yeah, I really like that. That makes a lot of sense. You need that, because everyone else, it seems like when you're really in shit creek, everyone's yelling from the side, hey, do this, you'd be better if you did this, do that. But they don't know the depth of what you're in until someone actually, there's a special person comes and just sits next to you. And you don't even have to talk about what's going on. They just sit next to you.
No.
And you're like,
yeah.
And it's like exactly what you need. It's exactly what you need. You're even unable in that moment, to communicate It's really funny that like a lot of times when we're going through something, we don't have the words to express how we're feeling. You ever notice that?
No.
And
Yeah.
and that's where journaling really helps, because what it
It does,
forces
yeah.
you to do is articulate and put into words the way you're feeling. And I do it in
Yeah.
therapy all the time, where I'll say something out loud that I've been thinking. And when I hear it out loud, it sounds a lot more extreme than it did in my head. And I'm able to self
Yeah.
correct just by getting it out onto like in another form. I can take a look at it. It works a lot. I started journaling initially because I was so angry. And when I would get so angry, I would have to go write it down as fast as I possibly could. Like, talking to people, talking to, whatever, just be like, all this stuff, and it was just venom flowing out of me. But I would feel so much better once it was out of me, because turns out venom doesn't agree with a person. It doesn't sit well inside of you and make you
No,
feel
no,
happy.
exactly. No. No.
It's like eating away at you the whole process, and you feel it. You feel yourself deteriorating. You want to strike out at someone who, either says you shouldn't be feeling that way. If you were stronger, you'd be better. All these kinds of things. You want to, I don't know, attack those people. But for me, those people were never really even saying anything. Anyways,
No.
we are complicated.
I think the thing is, I think, and I mean, look, I use that a lot when people start with me. And I do say about creating a journal. And as we're going through things, because then it's internalizing it and taking more responsibility, and it sort of gets rid of the noise on the outside. You know what I mean? And also starting to do things they enjoy doing, whether that's knitting, crocheting, going out for a walk, whatever it is that puts them in that happy place, right? Because you need to sort of get your body back into the rest and digest, away from that fight and flight that you're in when you're stressed, and so it's a combination of lots of things, of that social support, physical, mental, diet, all of those things need to work together, like nutrition, exercise, mental, emotional support, all of those different areas, right, all need to work together. Spiritual, if somebody's spiritually, all of the things have got to work together. But I think the journaling is something that really, really does work. Like you said, you were doing that, and at first it might be, you know what I mean? Like, why has this happened? And then eventually it calms down because you've got it out of your system, and it's better to be out than in, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's almost like purging it, just getting it out. And then all of a sudden you can, you can see different parts of it. And then you can start taking account for the part you played. You know what I mean? Once you get that venom out of the way, you're like, okay, now I see it a different way. So that definitely helps. I was just about to say something, but I forgot.
Well, you were saying yourself that you were doing journaling. You said that you were doing journaling yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I was doing.
So you said that you were doing journaling yourself. You were going to a counselor or a therapist, and they were helping you with and how you felt that really helped you because it got rid of those. Is there anything around that you remembered?
Yeah, well, no. I mean, I did get shot in the head, so I'm allowed to forget some stuff sometimes. So, so that's the one joke I get to have.
You probably wake up in the middle of the night and go, "I remember what it is."
Yep, it's usually. It will happen 5 minutes after I get off there. I'll be like, "Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about," and then I'll tell my wife about it, and she'll be like,
"Oh, sorry about that."
But it's been an absolute pleasure, Jackie, if I can call you Jackie.
Yeah, call me Jackie.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing the hope that comes with it, because I think we all find ourselves in situations where we feel isolated, we feel alone, we feel like we're the hardest done to person in the world. And I know what I was going to say. It's funny that someone said to me early on when I felt like my life's ruined, it's over, I shouldn't even go on living. I don't know how they asked me this, but it was something to the effect of like, do you see yourself as the main character of the movie of your life? And I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, huh? And it was the idea of like, regardless of what's happened to you in your past, your story is still being written and you're the main character. what would
Right.
you want to happen for this main character? You can even take yourself out of the equation. And it's like, well, it would be interesting if they did this and that and that. And you're like, okay, well, go do that. Go be the main character. You're not the victim. You're the starring role, you know? And every good movie has a lot of this because, you know, you spend half the movie. The beginning of the movie, you meet the hero, then the hero falls, then the hero gets back up, and then that's the movie.
Like a
because he
roller
got back
coaster.
up. Yeah, we can.
Just like a roller coaster.
Exactly. So we all understand that on like a conscious level when we watch movies where people push back. When they get back up, we have big cheers because we know what that feels like, right? And you watch Rocky, you get this sudden inspiration. I can do this too. Yeah.
I watch that all the time, Rocky. When I'm feeling down, I always go for inspiration, and I've watched Rocky through about 7 times. I've probably watched it about 3 times over the last couple of months, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just helps you because you think, it's not as bad as I think, you know? If we put all of our stuff into a bag, all our problems, we would probably be rushing to try and get ours out because there's other people that are a lot worse off than we are. And I mean, look, you know, I used to watch a lot of CI and the kids would say, you're either going to murder us or... And I said, what I do is I watch it because I find it inspiring. Seems weird, doesn't it? But I find it inspiring because I think there's a lot of people worse off than me.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, or they've lost loved ones or whatever. And so therefore, it's about understanding that, you know, this is your life and it's just really appreciating what you've got because you're actually still alive and you're on the earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is a miracle,
weird, doesn't it? But anyway.
No, it sounds, it's weird that we don't remember that. That in moments where someone cuts me off in traffic, I can literally think I'm being mistreated or hard done to. No, we're just driving cars down the road, you know, but it's like I go on the offense sometimes. And I think a lot of people do that too. They might be feeling low about themselves.
I do the Italian thing. I go, whoa. Because I speak Italian, because I used to live in Italy. I speak Italian and I go, I usually do I won't say what it is, but I say it in Roman. It's not very nice.
Okay.
I put my hand up and go, oh, and then blah, 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 you know.
That's
in
funny.
Italian to them usually.
That's very funny. That's a great way to do it. Great way to do it. Well, Jackie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. And until next time, God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Shit Creek Survivors. Here at Shit Creek Survivors, we believe one thing. Everyone has a Shit Creek story. Sometimes you don't get to choose the creek you're in. You just have to find your paddles that are going to get you out. If Jackie's story connected with you, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, add a like to the episode, and if you feel like contributing, share your Shit Creek moment in the comments below. Next week, we're going to bring you another Shit Creek story, another person, another set of challenges, and hopefully another paddle that might help you navigate your own. Until then, keep paddling.